The royal feast was done. The king sought some new sport to banish care, and to his jester cried, "Sir Fool, kneel now and make for us a prayer." The jester doffed his cap and bells, and stood the mocking court before. They could not see the bitter smile beneath the painted grin he wore. He bowed his head and bent his knee upon the monarch's silken stool. His pleading voice rose, "O Lord, be merciful to me, a fool." No pity, Lord, could change the heart from red with wrong to white as wool. The rod must heal the sin, but Lord, be merciful to me, a fool. 'Tis not by guilt, the onward sweep of truth and right, O Lord, we stay. 'Tis by our follies that so long we hold the earth from heaven away. These clumsy feet, still in the mire, go crushing blossoms without end. These hard, well-meaning hands we thrust upon the heartstrings of a friend. The ill-timed truth we might have kept. Who knows how sharp it pierced and stung? The word we had not sense to say, who knows how grandly it had wrung? Our faults? No tenderness should ask. The chastening stripes must cleanse them all. But for our blunders, oh, in shame, before the eyes of heaven, we fall. Earth bears no balsam for mistakes. Men crown the knave and scourge the tool that did his will. But Lord, thou, O Lord, be merciful to me, a fool. The room was hushed, in silence rose the king, and sought his gardens cool, and walked apart, and murmured low, "Be merciful to me, a fool." Was fitting for the Fool's Prayer by Edward Rowland Sill on April Fool's Day. And so that kind of got me going, and I started thinking about all the bookness with pranks and April Fool's-y kinds of things. And I started trolling everyone I knew. It's like, help me here, because it's like I had one thing that came to mind at first. And then once someone said something else, it would spur another one, and it would spur another one. So I've got a few books that have some fun jokes and some fun pranks. And yes, it's a bit late for this year, but hey, you need to read them and see if it's up to you. And there's a couple that I want to know about. What's your opinion on? And, you know, so let's play Prank the Book. I was especially talking with like Shalise and my daughter here, and you know, just people in person mostly. If I had thought of this early enough, I could have, like, you know, been spending lots and lots of time pulling out some of the best pranks in literature and all the fun stuff in this, but I didn't think about it until late last night, and then I broke my phone, thought I couldn't use it, and half the screen was gone. And then I woke up today and it's only a thin line that's in it now. So I've got until tomorrow to deal with it. So I actually get to do this, which is pretty cool. So here, in no particular order except for the last few, are a few books in literature that have some sort of prank in it. And one that I know nothing about whatsoever. But, you know, we're just gonna play. So the first one, and then I've got a couple possibilities. Let's start with the possibilities, the ones that we think might have pranks in them that we can't remember for sure. And the first one would be like the Squire's Tales. I think it's in The Lioness and Her Knight. And guys, I don't have very many books to show you because we have a guest in the escape room where all the books are. So most of those books we don't have, but I did pull a few out. But one I didn't pull out was The Lioness and Her Knight. There's Rinks, and he is a fool. And I think he plays pranks, and so does Shelley. So it'd be a great book to read anyway. It's really funny. Arthurian legends retold, not as a retelling where it's not quite the same, but we do a new twist. It's not that. It's like he took them all and combined them, pulled the best elements of each, and then rewrote them. You know, they're very funny. So it's possible that Rinks has one in there. And some of the things that Ramses does in the Amelia Peabody books, that's The Small Child, some of the things that he does would definitely be categorized as pranks. So you could totally go from Arthurian legends to archaeology in the late 19th, early 20th century. There are those options, you know. And then one I do have a book for. It's a classic prank. Everyone who has read them knows what I'm talking about. It is got some dust on there. It is Harry Potter. I've got a sticker on here. And the Order of the Phoenix. But I put my finger there and I felt it. I can't get it off now. I'll get it off later. But Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. The Fred and Weasley. This is like the ultimate Fred and Weasley prank thing. All of their jokesters things from their joke shop and everything. And then it all culminating in the protest against the totalitarian regime that the ministry has tried to establish at Hogwarts. Well, it sends a message not just about Hogwarts, but about the community in general. We're not going to put up with this. And it's a beautiful prank because it is harmless. It stands for right. And it has, you know, that element of humor. So I thought it was a brilliant thing. Some people find it offensive. I don't. I thought it was great. But there's that. I feel like this book, can you see that? I feel like I need to do a little repair on this book. Because I think that needs to be tucked back in there. Anyway, so there was that one. And then, now I have not read the books. My granddaughter has, but I have not read the books. But there is, in the Enola Holmes movie, and we think also in the books, but we're not sure, the mom definitely plays pranks on Enola as she's growing up. I remember some of the stuff that she pulled when, you know, from the movie, and I'm only going from the movie. I've not read the books, but I thought, from what I understand, I feel like the movie downplayed the feminist aspect some, which it was good because it was enough for me, but it didn't show it as an agenda as much. So, and showed the bad side as well as the good side. So I thought the movie handled it pretty decently, but I understand it's a bit stronger in the book. So I don't know that I could recommend it, but the mom definitely played some pranks in the movie. So possibly in the books, we don't know. Not sure about that one. And then next up, insignificant events in the life of a cactus. Hey, if you happen to be missing a couple of arms, there's some great ones in here for you. Okay. But also in here is what I thought was the best part of the pranks in here was that it kind of shows how to handle it when they don't go off like they're meant to. That was the cool lesson I thought of in here. You know, something didn't go well for her once, and her attitude about it and everything, I kind of liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. So, just saying, the insignificant events in the life of Cactus. She has no arms. She plays pranks with the arms. And I like the fact that it kind of shows that just because you have overcome and managed to do amazing things because of a disability doesn't mean that you are a super person and everything you do is going to be just amazing too, because that's not realistic either. And so I kind of liked that, you know, she has to kind of live down the fact that she tried to play a prank once and it totally flopped. Then she does one in here and it doesn't flop, and it's pretty funny. But do I love pranks? No, not particularly. Do I hate them? No, not particularly. It's just like, you do something clever, I'm going to admire the cleverness more than just, you know, the prankness. It's just not my thing. But it's also not my thing. Does that make sense? It's like and dislike. Just because just because I say I don't like that doesn't mean I dislike it. It just means that I don't like it. If I dislike it, I'll say so. Throw that out there. All right. Then in classic literature, I mean, there's Shakespeare does a few, quite a few. But then there's also like Jane Eyre. Mr. Rochester, here's a creepy gothic prank on you. Here, I'll pretend to be this gypsy, get you to tell me stuff I want to know, and magically transform back into myself. That's pretty creepy. I'm just saying. But it was a prank. He pulled something on her to get her to do something. The Jane Eyre and the Rochester, that, I mean, I just don't like Jane Eyre. But technically, he played a prank on her and got what he needed from her with that prank. And then along the same lines of that type of prank, but a little more good-natured, it's more of a swindle. We all know who I'm talking about now, right? But, you know, you've got Tom Sawyer and the whitewashing of the fence. It's a prank in that it's a swindle that is good-natured. It's not meant to be malicious or unkind or whatever. It's a pranky kind of swindly thing. My mom actually did something like this once. So back in the day, her church, I don't know, I think she was like 9 or 10 if I recall correctly. But her church was selling pretty printed napkins for a fundraiser. And it was raining and there wasn't anything she could do. So she goes to the church and she gets a case of these napkins and she goes around selling napkins door to door. You know, there was like some contest, I think, going on too about who sold the most or whatever. But she goes around selling these napkins door to door. She said it was people were buying them to get her to get out of the rain. Here's this skinny, knobby-kneed kid out in the rain selling these napkins. You know, they're just like buying them and begging her to go home. Well, she just kept going back to the church and getting more and going wrong. She said the way she tells the story is it was particularly effective when a raindrop would like drip off her nose. So, I mean, my mom has a bit of the Tom Sawyer in her, I'm just saying. But that's technically, it's a stretch, I will grant you, but it is technically a prank. And so, you know, if you want that one, or how about Scout into Kill a Mockingbird? I mean, the whole moving the furniture to the basement thing, which I always thought it would have been really cool if they had like moved furniture. I mean, I get why they did it, but I've always wanted, based upon that, I've wanted to see someone go into someone's house and like take all the dining room furniture and like cram it into an upstairs bathroom and take all of the bedroom furniture and put it in the living room. Just totally turn the house upside down like that. Because having all the furniture disappear, your first instinct is, I've been robbed. But if everything is completely where it doesn't belong and yet decorated as if it does, that would just be kind of a next level, you know. But they haven't done that yet, so whatever. My granddaughter Emma says that in The Keeper of the Lost Cities, Keith likes to do practical jokes and pranks and things like that. So I know nothing, absolutely nothing, but maybe, you know, just little whatever. Okay, in Christian fiction, my daughter Shalise and I were talking, and we decided it was in To Know Her by Name by Lori Wick. Pup Jennings she's this young gal who, you know, lives by herself and has she's kind of clumsy. They call her Pup because she's kind of always stumbling over herself. She's kind of clumsy, except when she's in her role as a Secret Service agent who is undercover. It's like that forces a type of concentration on her, and she's no longer clumsy like that. Well, they play a trick on the guy. I'm trying to remember everybody's names, and I can't. I only remember her as Pup. Shalise would remember, but they get her dressed up as this little old woman, and the guy that is there absolutely has no idea it's her. They totally trick him until she does that little trippy thing. If I recall correctly, she did it deliberately. But, you know, it's fun. It's cool. And then, obviously, Roald Dahl is like the master of pranks. We have Matilda. There's that. But, you know, he also has some of his real life ones from when he was a kid. The Great Mouse Caper and things like that. Roald Dahl apparently likes pranks. And so he's not my favorite author. I know I'm terrible. Everybody, you can just hate me now, and I'm okay with that. But there's Dahl. What can I say, right? But yeah, just doesn't appeal to me at all. Just no. But then when I was searching through all these things, I found this, because I went looking. It's like, what kind of, it was funny how little I found on pranks in books that weren't books about how to do pranks. Found this book, William and the Spiritualist Society by Just William. And I know nothing about this. This absolutely would not have been ever gone on my radar if I hadn't been looking for this, because William and the Spiritualist Society just feels like, no, that's not me. Oh, Diary of a Nobody. Is there a prank in there? I feel like there is. Anyone know? But listen to this and tell me, do you know anything about this book? Do I want to read this? Because this whole Spiritualist Society kind of doesn't sit well. But on the other hand, it says, while William often fancied himself a prankster, the funny thing when one looks at his stories is that he was never very good at it. In the chapter actually set on April 1st, William fails abysmally at scoring an April Fool, with his empty boiled eggs easily spotted and his even grander schemes thwarted. I did enjoy the Christmas chapter where William and his cronies were being forced into a friendship with Hubert Lang's gang, with Hubert Lang having set up various humiliating Christmas gifts to mark his contempt. Naturally, William is able to get in and swap the labels around. Still, my favorite has to be the chapter where a lady who was chief of a reincarnation league sets up shop in the village, attempting to win over the affections of a man she has decided, much to his dismay, is the reborn Julius Caesar. As her beloved decides to flee in fear, he leaves the costume she gave him to William, who sets it up on a chair for a prank. The scene where the poor lady declares her love passionately only for William to drop his April Fool is toe-curling hilarious for the reader, with William blissfully unaware of the chaos he's created. It is perhaps good to close with this anecdote. Plan one's pranks carefully and consider the potential perils. I mean, that sounds really funny, but I'm like, I don't know. Has anyone read it? I've never even heard of this book, ever. Just, I'm clueless, just absolutely clueless. And of course, you can't talk about pranks without Lucy from Peanuts. That's one that people kept mentioning over and over and over again. But then I'm going to go backwards on these two. What made me think of it was Carolyn Wells' Patty series. Now, this is in Patty's motor car. These aren't pranks. These are riddles. Okay, that's kind of important. But they're riddles like, like the old, a cowboy came into town on Friday, stayed through Sunday, left on Friday, and was only in town, 4 days. How did that happen? Well, the horse's name was Friday thing, right? There are a lot of those types of things in here, and there's some number conundrums. There's a riddle. It's a charade. But then there's one let's see if we can read it. Here we go. Let's read this thing. Suppose a history in 3 volumes is placed on a bookshelf. Suppose each volume contains just 100 pages. And suppose a bookworm, starting at page 1 of volume 1, bores straight through the books, covers and all, to the last page of volume 3. How many leaves does he go through, not counting fly leaves or covers? So how many actual pages does he go through? I won't tell you the answer because it might be fun for you to figure it out. It's not crazy hard, but if you're not thinking, you're going to miss it. But I only read that because of what made me think of this entire video. Patty Fairfield on April Fool's Day is staying with her very, very bookish aunts. Now, in this book, Patty and her dad have been living in hotels all over the place, and they decided to set up house. He has to be gone for like a year, and she's got 4 aunts, and so she's going to stay with each aunt for 3 months and kind of get a feel of how each family does things and see how they want their house to run. Well, you know, you've got this one aunt, their family is very posh, high society, and it's all about money, really. That's pretty much what life is about. And there's not a lot of order to their life, and she finds it very, you know, at first fun, but then, you know, there's no purpose to it. And then she goes to another aunt, and maybe it's only 3 aunts and she goes for 4 months. It could be that. But then there's this other aunt that their family is incredibly focused on books, education, activism, and they're just crazy focused on that. No, I think there's 4. There's 4. More, maybe not. Doesn't matter. That crazy. I mean, everything is regimented down to the minute, and everything is just, if it's not about learning and seriousness and making a difference in the world, then it's not worth their time, kind of thing. And then you've got the aunt's family, you know, they have a nice balance. Yes, we need to, you know, take time to focus on the important things in life, and yes, we need to enjoy the beautiful things in life, and yes, we need to be careful to take care of the things that we have, and yet we also need time to relax. You know, it's a nice balanced family, and that's obviously the moral of the story, right? But in here on April Fool's Day, she's staying with the very regimented, serious-minded family, right? So she gets up before everyone, changes all the clocks forward an hour. So when everyone gets up, they're panicking, they're rushing around because how did we oversleep? Just freaking out. And she's just sitting there blithely, and just about the time they're ready to go out the door, she's, you know, lets them know, hey, actually, no, it's only, I changed all the clocks, right? And it was just a fun April Fool's story. When Shalise read this, the other girls hadn't read it yet, so she did this to them, and it was just a fun prank. You know, it's like no big deal, nothing. You know, it's harmless, it's fun, and it's what I think of every time I think of April Fool. I think of that clock. It wouldn't work today with our cell phones, and you know, people, that's what they use instead of a watch half the time, and you got all the smartwatches and the stuff. This would never work, but it did back when my kids were little, before the internet. And it was a lot of fun. So I love the Patty Fairfield books. They're a little simplistic in that, you know, it's a shiny, happy life with their little troubles, and they are little troubles, but they're a nice break from reality sometimes. You know, I'm just saying. So this is actually what made me think about books with pranks. I want to know all the books with pranks. I was talking to my mom, and that's what made me think of something else. I was talking to my mom, like, what books do you know of that have good pranks in them? And she couldn't think of any. And she's like, but the kind of books you write, you want a good twist. You don't really want a prank. And I was like, well, that's not the point of this, but that's okay. But it got me thinking about, have I done pranks? And there's kind of one, it's in Oh Gracious, where he like puts for however many geese a laying, 8 geese a laying, 6 geese a laying, all the geese a laying anyway. He puts these plastic geese over the front yard and hangs wreaths around them. And it was fun. It's not really a prank, but it's close. But then it got me thinking, and I recalled a couple books that do kind of have pranks in them. Both of them are both of them are slightly sinister-ish. The first one I ever did was in Christmas Stockings. And in this one, this gal has 7 cats. She's a crazy cat lady. She has a Christmas tree for each cat. And someone is breaking into her house, and moving stuff around on those cats' Christmas trees. She knows how everything is and stuff isn't right. And then it starts getting worse and worse. And that's all I'm saying, because you wouldn't want to give away the story. But that is definitely a prank. It's not a nice, friendly prank. It's actually quite malevolent. But not in a, we're going to sacrifice cats way. It's just someone is clearly being unkind for a purpose. You just don't know what the purpose is yet. So there's that one. And then again, on the same vein, in The Ghost of New Cheltenham, what is with me and Christmas and tormenting people? But in The Ghost of New Cheltenham, there are all kinds of ghostly things going on in this guy's house. Someone clearly knows he has a phobia of ghost stuff, and they are using it to torment him. And there's a purpose behind it, obviously. But yeah. So, I have a couple books with pranks in them. I feel like my Aggie books, I feel like the kids must have played pranks at some point. But I finally figured out why. I can't remember. I know I wrote them. I don't know if I put them in the books. Just because I wrote it doesn't mean it made it into the actual book. But now I feel like I've got to put a prankster in a book. I don't think I have a character who is a prankster. And I've got people in my life who are pranksters. We need more books with pranksters. So that's what I've got for you today. Just a kind of reminder that, hey, it's April Fool's Day. And sometimes books have fun little things in them. I want to know about the Spiritualist Society book. Has anyone read it? Do you know if it gets too into it, or if it's just whatever? Do you know of good books with pranks? I don't mind. I feel like I think we said the Melendi books, and then there were 5. I think we decided there was a prank in there, but I can't remember what it was now. So, but if you know books that have good pranks, I would love to know what they are. So definitely, please leave them in the comments, and I will be back on Thursday with my March wrap-up. I have a lot of books, including that Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus. I got thoughts, folks. I got thoughts. So, yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.